There's something interesting that happens after you spend so long clinging to God out of survival, and then you move into a season of blessings where He really works into your life and brings joy. But instead of clinging to Him out of desperation and needing to believe in Him so you can make it to the next day, in a weird way, you now have to choose to believe in Him instead of taking credit for yourself. And when you're facing trials and things like that, and you're going through intense suffering and just really hard battles to fight, you cling to God out of survival and you have a need for Him. You know, in my experience, when I was facing tough battles, my prayer life was way more intense and honestly much more fulfilling in a weird way, because I constantly had that need to rely on Him. But then as my journey progressed, I fought and I fought and I fought. I prayed and I prayed, and through obedience, I unlocked the door of grace, and God put me in a season of blessings, which I'm so thankful for. But now our relationship is evolving. And the way I interpret it is that it's evolving from desperation to devotion. In my eyes, it's almost like desperation in a relationship with God is like a stepping stone to be prepared for a life of devotion. And you would think that fighting tough battles would be harder than receiving blessings, which it is, don't get me wrong, in like 9 ways out of 10. But there is one way that I do face some difficulty, and that is maintaining my closeness with God. And I think it is meant to be a little bit more difficult to do this when He gives you blessings, just because when you make that choice to thank Him and give Him your gratefulness and just give Him all the credit because He truly deserves it, it's more meaningful than when you're clinging to Him out of survival because you just need Him, you know? I've been through a lot, and I was just thinking today that I am happy right now. I haven't been able to say that for nearly 10 years. I haven't been able to truly say I am happy. But why is it that I'm happy, yet my prayer life isn't as strong as what it was when I was unhappy? And what does it mean for me to need to put more effort in to have a closeness with God? Like all things, I think that the more effort something takes, the more you get in return. So I'm looking at this in a positive light, that now that I'm struggling a little bit to give everything into my relationship with God, and you know, I sometimes drift and forget all the things He's done to me because I'm just enjoying what He's given to me, which is like a paradox for some reason. That extra effort that it takes to talk to Him and stay in contact, you know, is like, when I put that in, it means more, and I can feel that, and I'm sure He does too. But whenever I have these moments where I'm like, I take a step back and I'm just like, wow, things have changed. I'm genuinely happy with where I am. When I have those moments, what helps for me to maintain the closeness with God that I've had throughout my life of hardships and moving into blessings is, when I have these moments, I take that step back and I say, this is from something greater than me, and I need to be grateful for it. And then I realize, in order to be grateful and in order to be thankful, it needs to have been given to you. You know, how can you be grateful for something that you did yourself? Like, who are you going to be grateful to? It makes no sense. all the credit for my blessings and the wonderful things that have happened to me and allowed me to climb out of a hole so deep that for so long I thought would be impossible to get out, all the credit goes to God. All I had to do was depend on Him. Nowadays, when I'm enjoying the fruits of my labor and the fruits of the Spirit, it's just like I'm so in it that I don't realize necessarily that it came from another source. You know, it's not me. You know, it's God's works in my life. And when I forget that, my prayer life slows down. You know, my ego can inflate. I can experience a little bit of pride. But right then and there, that's when I need to take those moments and step back. Be in the joy for a moment, step out of it, see it, recognize that this came from a higher power, and then give thanks and be grateful to Him, which is God. That mechanism right there is different than the relationship I had with God when I was going through suffering, in the sense that when I was going through that, it would be pain. I would stay in it, and I would open the door for God, and He would be in it with me. And then I would give thanks to Him for allowing His presence to be with me through it. And not only that, but when I was in the pain, I needed to open that door, you know, and when I was in the pain, I needed God to be in there with me to get through it. So the relationship was different because my state of mind, I didn't really need to step out of and recognize it to let God in. You know, I was in it all the time, and He was in there with me. But the way I think about my relationship with Him now and these blessings has just kind of morphed, and the way I see it, it's harder to maintain the relationship now, but it's not at the same time, and it's much more rewarding at the same time. I'm not sure if all this makes complete sense, but if anybody relates to this, it would be wonderful if you could share your experience. And I'm just interested to know, like, where you guys are in your journey with God, if you even are in a journey with God currently. What season are you in? You know, what's God doing with your life right now? I hope you guys enjoyed this somehow or gained some insight. I'll catch you guys later, and yeah, peace.